Should be outside really. It is so hot and sunny, but I couldn't be bothered to move everything outside, so I'm inside. I'm up to my armpits in work today, so anything that was going to take me more time was not an option. So this is my Thursday midday session, and it started off as like a live Q&A, which was great for some weeks, but it's starting to evolve, and I'm kind of feeling like it's going to become a mini coaching session for you each Thursday that you can join and catch up with later, where we'll cover a different topic and I'll just raise some questions and talk about that area. Quite a lot of it will be about your feelings and how you're going about life. So it's always good if you have a pen and a piece of paper with you, so you can note down questions and start to think about your answers, because you know yourself best and you have all of your answers. No one can give them to you, but somebody like me can raise those questions and get you thinking about how you can improve different parts of your life. So Instagram is still telling you that I am live, so I will just slow myself down a little bit for a minute till it says that I'm live. And I'll put this recording up in my grid later so that you can follow it later as well. And if you've got any questions, you can drop that over to me. So I'm a bit impatient. I can't be bothered to wait for Instagram, so I'll just get cracking. Today's topic is about feeling inadequate. Now, this is something I do see frequently with the ladies that I work with. And there's a lot in our lives, so you can feel like you are absolutely masterful in one part of your life, but utterly inadequate in others. So it might be that you feel like you've nailed it in quite a lot of your life, whether it be your work and your social life or the kids, but it might be that you really feel like you are utterly inadequate when it comes to self-care, how you step out into the world, your confidence, I don't know, it could be anything. So feeling inadequate doesn't have to be something you feel about everything in life. It can be that you feel inadequate in certain parts of your life. Or it could be this underlying feeling that you just generally feel like you're not doing very well when you get to the end of the day. So, inadequacy is the feeling of not doing enough or not doing anything well enough. So it can be a combination of those two things, or one or the other, broadly speaking. Now, why does this happen? Various reasons. I'll just mention a couple of quite big ones. Putting too much pressure on yourself, which is a real biggie, especially in this modern world that we are in. I think we did learn over this time that the pandemic has been running that we were putting too much pressure on ourselves, and when we were forced to stop, there were a lot of problems with that. But I think there's a lot of realisation from people that actually they quite liked having a lot less pressure on themselves. And I know that a lot of people have stepped back out into the world with a different outlook. They've changed their work, they've quit their careers, they've relocated, they've sold up a lot of their belongings. People are having big changes because they don't want to keep putting that pressure on themselves. So, putting pressure on yourself is one of the main reasons behind feeling inadequate. And why do we do this? Well, we can do it without realising it. We just don't know. Being hard on yourself is one way of feeling like you're inadequate. Without you realising it, you are harsh with your approach in life. You put yourself under too much pressure to feel that you must achieve an awful lot all the time in order to feel worthy. So signs of putting too much pressure on yourself physically can be lack of sleep, so having really disturbed sleep, but also on a mental level, it's where that negative self-talk is really ramping up. That monkey mind, that chimp that lives in your head, is really starting to rattle its cage and is saying some pretty dreadful things to you. When you are become aware of this, it's likely that you are just putting too much pressure on yourself in life, whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually. It can happen in all different ways. Another biggie behind feeling inadequate is setting too high expectations, and you do this to yourself. Just have a little drink of water. Now, again, you can do this without realising it, completely out of habit, and it's often a learned habit. And it can be a learned habit from when you're very young, which I always like talking about. We learn a lot about the world around us by the time we are 7 due to the brain waves that we are putting out there, and we absorb everything like a sponge. So we will learn very important habits that we carry on through life from a very, very young age. So how people behave around us when we're young, such as parents or carers or influential people, can really set us up for the life that we lead. Putting too high expectations on yourself could be a learned habit from maybe a parent who was demanding the best from you all the time, and they don't necessarily do that in a negative way. They want the best for you. They want you to step out into that world and achieve everything you've ever dreamed of. We always just want the best for our kids, but in doing that we can also inadvertently put a lot of demands and expectation on our children. So when we were young, we would have had a lot of demands and expectations subconsciously and consciously placed on us. We then step out into the world trying to put too high expectations on ourselves to keep meeting the demands of others, even if we don't realise it. Now, signs that this could be happening. Now, these signs could be related to many other things, but it can really impact your mood. It can give you a low mood, and it can definitely increase stress because you are continually trying to reach for something which a lot of the time is not achievable. By putting too high expectations on yourself, you're slipping into that perfectionist realm where it's very, very hard to live up to your own expectations. It's very hard to achieve to the nth degree that you're putting yourself under. So be aware that if your stress is increasing, it could be that you're putting such high expectations on yourself and those around you that it's having a negative impact on you physically and mentally. So in terms of what questions could you ask yourself to start digging into this topic a little bit deeper, this is when you get your pen and paper. Okay, get ready for these questions. My dog is about to bark. I can hear her brewing because the car's come down the drive, so I apologise if she starts banging on. Question number 1. Who are you trying to please? Okay, write that one down. Who are you trying to please when you are feeling inadequate? Are you trying to please yourself? Unlikely. Are you trying to please others? If so, who are they? There's the dog. Here's the postman. Write down who you are trying to please and why you're trying to please them. What is it you want back from this situation where you're feeling inadequate and you're not achieving everything you want because you're putting too much pressure on yourself? Who are you trying to please and why? That's a really interesting one for you to start to have some realisation around. Next question would be, what happens if you don't achieve it? Whatever it is you've got on that list that you never get to the end of, what happens if you don't achieve it? You know, what is the worst case scenario? And is that something that you feel deeply emotionally? You know, is it really going to rock your foundations if you don't achieve everything? Or is it that somebody else is going to be disappointed in you? So where is this coming from? Is it extrinsic from an external factor or intrinsic from somewhere inside of you? So what happens if you don't achieve? And the last question, are you being your worst enemy? Bit of a closed question for you there, yes or no? Is it you that's the problem here? And is it you that's being your own worst enemy by setting your sights so high, putting so much pressure on yourself, judging yourself so harshly? Is it coming from anywhere else? Or is it just literally coming from inside of you? And is it coming from that monkey mind that's rattling its cage? So those are the 3 questions for you. Who are you trying to please and why? What happens if you don't achieve? And are you being your own worst enemy? So I've written down 3 tips. I don't want to end it on a negative with those kind of questions, which would kind of probably make you dig deep and then go, oh gosh, I had no idea all this was going on in my life. So for you guys that are joining quite late on in this chat, I'll be popping this recording in my grid so you can catch up later and have a pen and paper at the ready. So my tips would be around the topic of feeling inadequate. Communication, I think, is a big one, especially for us ladies who are very good at saying a lot. We are very good at communicating, but I don't know if we're that good at communicating our honest feelings for ourselves and how we show up in the world, for fear of being judged or thought of that you're not doing well enough. So one thing I would say is communication is key. Communication to yourself, bit of honesty is needed, but also think about what would they say, whoever it is that you're trying to impress or keep happy, what would they say if you sat down with them and said that generally you're feeling quite inadequate in life and you're struggling and you're putting too much pressure on yourself and you're setting too high expectations? What would they say to you? Because by communicating clearly, you might get some unexpected answers. We run a lot of internal dialogue, which is mostly negative. And if we try and have this conversation with ourselves, we're going to come back with some more unhelpful thoughts and opinions and limiting beliefs. But imagine if you had that conversation with someone that you love and who supports you, that you're struggling at the moment and you're feeling a bit inadequate. What would they say? Have a think about that. And if you're brave enough, have that conversation, because I think the results would be quite surprising and very supportive and positive. By doing this, you're also sharing the load. There is nothing written in stone anywhere that says that you have to do everything and be everything to everyone. So share the load, let people help. They may even be waiting for you to do that so that they can start to support you better and start releasing some of that feeling of inadequacy that you're walking around with. My next tip would be to be very aware of social media and how you use it. I appreciate that I am here on Instagram, but I tend to only share positive stuff where possible. But really be aware of how you use social media. Just by being in its presence can have quite a negative impact on us mentally and physically. And we are very hardwired to compare ourselves to others. And I know I've said this before and you see it all the time. Don't compare yourself to others, but really don't. It's killing us. Be really careful about who you follow on social media. Be selective. You know, don't follow thousands of people. Don't like hundreds of pages. Just pick the ones that are really connected to you on a really supportive level, and find your tribe. The people that are speaking your language and are uplifting and supportive. If there's anyone out there that you find yourself comparing yourself to, or you start going down that rabbit hole of clicking here and clicking there and seeing what they're doing, get it out of your life. Okay, that is also making you feel inadequate. My third tip would also be very aware that your thoughts and feelings are not always reality. Okay, and you can choose your thoughts. That's maybe for another time to discuss how you go about doing that. But how you think and feel really does form the basis of your life, what comes into it and what doesn't. The bad stuff that happens, the good stuff that happens, your health and well-being, your relationships. And your thoughts and feelings are impacted on everything that's going on around you, whether that be your mood, the food you eat, the sleep you're getting or not getting, the movement you're doing or skipping, the people that you're hanging out with, so your environment, whether it's the people you choose to be with or the people in your community. All of these things have an impact on your thoughts and feelings, and your thoughts and feelings have an impact on how you feel about yourself and this feeling of inadequacy and putting too much pressure on yourself and setting expectations too high. So start drilling down into those areas, and if that's tricky for you to do on your own, reach out to me and drop me a DM. I'm really happy to support you. So that's my little download today on feeling inadequate, with some reasons why, some questions to ask yourself, some honest questions, a bit of soul searching, and then 3 tips on how you can start to break that habit. I hope this has been helpful. I will be back next week with some more lives. I'm also here tomorrow at 4 p.m. with some kind of a feel-good weekend wind-down exercise, which I'll have a think about, and I'll see you soon.